Every month, the pensioners of the Park Royal are treated to a free lunch and entertainment in downtown Johannesburg. It's usually a time of excitement, one they all look forward to. Not today. Today they have something else on their minds. Homelessness.
It's not a case of turfing people out. We don't like doing what's forced upon us. Our income last year was 4,992,000, and our expenditure was 10,468,000 odd rand.
The Johannesburg Association for the Aged, JAFTA, which owns Park Royal, is broke. The building has been sold, and the pensioners must be out by the end of March.
The aged and the infirm seem to be they don't seem to be getting any of the money from the public.
The Rand Ladies Club tries to bring some cheer to the old people's lives. But beneath the smiles are signs of worry.
The summer days are ending in the valley, and soon the time will come when we must be apart. So I must start my journey.
Most are in the twilight of their lives. They have nowhere else to go, and no hope.
When springtime comes around, till the white rose blooms again, I must leave you lonely. So goodbye, my love, till then.
The Park Royal flats in inner Johannesburg have been a home for elderly people since 1971. For many of the 74 residents, it's the only home they now know. A home where they've seen butterflies in spring. One of the only places in the city where they've felt safe.
Goodbye, my love, till then.
But they have to go. Some have been lucky enough to find other homes to go to, those with money or families. Others haven't been that lucky, like Rita Kraft, a disability pensioner who's lived in Park Royal for the last 7 years.
When I got that letter, and I read it, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to think of. It didn't even hit me to think, what am I going to do? I just knew I had to start packing. And I started packing. Boxes all over the show, but I must pack, but I don't know what for. I'm going, but I don't know where to. I don't know what I'm going to do. I think the word worried fits better. But everybody is worried because nobody knows what they're going to do.
For most of the residents, the future looks dim. Maria Haas and her husband only moved in 7 months ago. Now they must move again.
I come from Czechoslovakia, and we left everything behind because we ran away from this communist country. We were never free. Many years ago, I'm 38 years in this country, what happened, we have to start all over again. And we are old.
And it's not only us, everybody here is complaining, crying, they can't find a place.
Yeah.
I think it's very...
Because the rent are very high, you know, to afford that for us.
I think it's very unfair what they are doing to us.
Yes.
And
Very
they
unfair.
don't care about old people anymore.
Sick people,
Yeah,
you
sick
know,
people especially,
paralyzed
yeah.
people.
What they have in their little room are all the fragments of their life together. If they find another old age home, they can take little with them. Both never dreamed their lives would come to this.
They taught me also, the social workers, we have to separate, that's all. Yes, they told me. I have to find accommodation in some room, and Johnny have to go to old age home where he is going to be treated,
Yeah,
you know.
after, yeah.
But I have to visit him. If I was told, I'll just thank you very much and walk out.
It's
I'll
ridiculous.
never do that. Never. He needs me too much.
They know the inevitable is coming. They just try not to think about it.
I don't know where we're going to be here, Johnny. I don't know. That's bad.
Yeah.
We thought we can make it better even, you know, but not anymore.
After the break, whose responsibility is it to take in these pensioners? Everyone at Park Royal knows they have to move. Some say their only way to keep sane is to carry on as normal.
I'm in the garden, winter or summer, from 4 o'clock every morning. And I'm sorry to find out that we have to leave. But I'll still maintain the garden until we'll see what happens. I've applied for another place, which I'm on the waiting list, but we don't know. I'd love to find another place where it's got a nice garden. Somebody takes me, I'll look after the garden, look after the courtyard or anything like that. And that's it. I wish I could take all these plants with me. That's all. Or donate it to somebody else who may look after them. Well, that's one of those things. Every day in the garden, and that's it.
Compared to the inner city decay around it, Park Royal is an island of comfort. Its residents live in a cocoon that has shielded them from the crime, filth, and ugliness beyond its gate. Most residents are white and middle class. They've been living in relative comfort for an average rental of 341 Rand a month. This includes 24-hour security and 2 full-time domestic workers.
My watch is broken here, please. Can you fix watch for me here?
The residents get free water, hot water as well. They get laundry, all their laundry gets done. Their flats are serviced, partly serviced. Not every day, of course, but they're partly serviced. When people moved into the building, they never had furniture. Jafta supplied them with furniture, even to the point, in some cases, fridges. So they really had a lot of perks for a lot of years. And it's got to the point where it's we can't afford it anymore. It's unaffordable. All alternatives were looked at to replace these people. But every time an alternative was found, an objection was raised, i.e. the place that we found them was too small, it was not in the same vicinity, it was too far, and they basically want exactly what they've got now for the same amount of money that they're paying at the moment. It's a little bit crazy, I think, personally.
But past privilege doesn't mean you deserve to be homeless now. So says Thelma Richardson, unofficial spokesperson for the Park Royal pensioners.
You have no idea. We've been sitting with the sword of Damocles on tenterhooks for I don't know how long. Nothing has been told us at all.
Now the pensioners have the legal muscle to fight their eviction. A leading Johannesburg law firm says if the state won't find the pensioners another home, they'll take them to the courts.
And if people are entitled, the state is under an obligation to progressively realize the right of the public to access to housing. It's also under an obligation to promote dignity, and that therefore any plan should comply with the requirement that they be treated in accordance, in a dignified way.
Requires the state to devise and implement within its available resources a comprehensive and coordinated program.
Haythorne's argument hinges on the 2001 Grootboom case in the Constitutional Court. The court ruled that the state was under a legal obligation to have a reasonable plan to provide accommodation and services to destitute and homeless people.
The question of what is reasonable in the circumstances would ultimately have to be determined by a court, hopefully in negotiations with the provincial government or the Johannesburg City Council, that they would come to that hopefully one would imagine that by negotiations one might come to a solution. But if one can't, one would then have to go to the courts.
Park Royal's residents have had one crisis meeting after another. They're angry and need someone to blame for the position they now find themselves in. Old and facing a life on the streets.
Hi, Dennis, how are you? That's good.
He asked me, the solicitor came and asked me if he could come up to my flat. He wanted to discuss things with me, so I said yes. Now, from the time we were told in September that we have got to leave, I took a pad with me and I made notes. And the solicitor belongs to a church, and he heard about it from the church and asked if
Tempers
he could
flare.
come and help us.
But exactly, how can they put old people out in the streets?
I mean, we might be put in a slum area.
Exactly. Here we're stuck. You can't go nowhere.
Exactly. It's too
Because
What
dangerous.
happened to the bus?
It's too dangerous.
I mean, that's another story.
What's happened to the bus?
Selma, what happened to the laundry?
JAFTA denies it's being heartless in evicting its pensioners. It says it has no choice.
Sorry, November. I do my own. November.
But the pensioners don't buy it. The rumour mill is in full swing, of JAFTA not using the money it's been given, of fingers in the till.
Well, January is now well in the way, and they still haven't got any money.
If we were well funded by anybody, or if we got enough money in from the public, we would never have sold that building. We would have kept them there.
And what were they? They were all files about people. I still have one downstairs. I took this about 3 or 4 months ago.
We got 7 years to be on the waiting list because there's no houses or no
But
accommodation.
hasn't anybody said to them what's happened to the money or what has been done?
They from the lottery.
It's
600,000.
That is also very strange because I don't know what.
And that was only 2 years ago.
They got another payment a little while ago, 600,000.
So what do they do with all the money?
They are using it for
On luxuries, that's right. On luxuries, there's new cars and...
Well, there's somebody is wasting the money. That is for sure.
They're using money, but
yes,
for the
for
wrong.
sure.
They must get their ideas right. What needs things first?
That's right.
An untold amount of goodwill we've done or benefit we brought to the people of Johannesburg.
It's not a private organisation.
It's not a private organisation at all. huge salaries and big cars. There's no big cars and there's no huge salaries here.
Park Royal is not the only facility JAFTA runs. This frail care centre in Rosettenville swallows most of the money JAFTA gets from public donations. Last year it requested funding from the Lotto and got less than half of what it asked for, which went immediately on supporting the nearly 5,000 elderly people it helps in and around the city. In short, JAFTA is flat broke.
Interesting.
You know, old people are dumped, just dumped, you know. Their children or their relatives don't even bother to come and see them. And they couldn't be bothered, I don't think. Maybe the way times have changed, they're too busy. But it's a weak excuse. Because we should honour our parents.
Government subsidises old age care, but JAFTA still gets the same subsidy per person it got 10 years ago. And faced with the rising cost of patient care, the organisation says it cannot cope anymore.
Let's take a very good example of cost per patient. Our disposable nappies cost just over R6 each. They can only be used once, and we use 3 per patient per day. 9 years ago, we were getting R1,000 a month, and we're still getting R1,000 today. So it hasn't kept up with inflation.
To try and generate more income, JAFTA's converted parts of the centre into living units to rent out. Those with higher pensions pay R3,000 a month for a room.
The old folk we got in our village, they have not lost their dignity. We look after them well, to the best of our ability.
Words with a hollow ring for the pensioners of Park Royal.
He's pleading our case right now, the case of Park Royal. Jesus Christ is pleading it with Christ, with God. Is there no hope in that? There's a big hope. Big hope. And something that is pleaded by, if Jesus comes in and become our attorney, our counselor, our lawyer, and he pleads a case for us, I am sure that that is one case that we will never lose.
The churches may pray and sing with them, but the sun is setting on Park Royal. 31 March is closing in. After the break, should the pensioners get special treatment from the state? But if JAFTA can't take care of Park Royal's pensioners anymore, who is legally obliged to take them in? Possibly the state, says their lawyer.
Well, for those who are unable to find alternative accommodation by the end of March, they will become homeless and in a position of emergency, acute emergency, especially as they are aged people. The question then is does the state have, the question that we would have to answer, or the courts might have to answer, is what remedy do they have for alternative accommodation? And one imagine that that would not include putting people, aged people, out on open land and expecting that they erect a shack 30 kilometers from the city centre, on land which might have been made available on an emergency basis for homeless people.
25 boxes already packed. I haven't got where to go, and we have to be out of here by the 31st of March, regardless. My blood pressure's gone sky high, and I'm very nervous. I think everybody would be. And there's another thing. After 70, they don't want you at most old age homes, and I have a little dog. And I wouldn't want to be separated from her.
But beggars can't be choosers, it could be argued. If another place is found, no matter how unsuitable, it should be grasped with grateful hands. Residents have also been encouraged to stay with their families, if they have any.
You know, I was not brought up that way. I don't believe in it, and I'm sure my child doesn't believe in it either. You know, staying with children. They've got their own lives now. They've got their own lives to lead, their own things to do, and they don't want the old people badgering them up with old stories and old-fashioned things like that. Not that I want to be old, but I suppose I am.
The state is less than sympathetic, some would say rightfully so. The local Department of Housing doesn't buy the argument that the pensioners should get some kind of special treatment.
Morning.
How are you,
How
sir?
are you?
I'm okay, and you? Mr. Naidu.
Okay.
Nice to see you this year.
Yes.
How was? As you can see, we have got a long waiting list for allocation section. These files dated back as well as 1972. So the city of Johannesburg is trying by all means to assist people. But due to lack of housing, we are trying by all means for this. We've got the file for Region 4 here. It's for Region 1 and 2. This is for Region 3. And it goes on, it goes on. The list is very, very long. And for the Park Royal section, this Park Royal flat, it is not owned by the council. It is a private thing. So people from Park Royal, they are complaining that the city does not help them. So we are going to treat them not as a special case. They are going to wait for like these people here, like their name are going to be in the list again.
I don't think that the housing list can be used to trump the argument that you must have a reasonable plan in place for people in desperate need. If they were to be evicted and placed in a situation of desperation, to say that you've got to await your turn in 20 years' time or 10 years' time, however long it takes to get to your place in the waiting list, would really render the important purpose of the Grootboom judgment and judgments like it, for which follow it, completely of no force or effect at all.
My friends don't know how to take me.
We would love the public to support us, because people don't care about the aged, unfortunately. This is a feeling that everybody gets. We see people being brought in here and dumped and forgotten to a large extent, which is cruel. So we would love the public to support us and give us donations.
Love is kind, love is cruel, but even so, love caught me.
Growing old is something everyone faces. It's also something, so the theory goes, we should all prepare for. With retirement annuities and retirement homes and loving families to visit us when we're lonely. But that's just the theory.
I'm looking for some loving right now.
As of Park Royal dreamed their time in the sun would end, that they would face retirement on the streets. They say the life of dignity they planned meant at the very least spending their last days with a home to call their own. Their sun, they say, has set too soon.